Hey, Mary!
Yeah?
Have you seen the Little Dipper can?
Double Dipper came out years ago.
No, Little Dipper.
Oh. I think I shrank that one.
What?
Remember, I had that flashlight.
Yes, it's common knowledge that you have a magic flashlight that can grow and shrink things. Why did you shrink one of our episodes?
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
How small did you make it?
Like, really small.
And how are we supposed to find it under all these other unopened pod cans?
Chill, it probably just fell down and rolled into a corner.
Mary? Oh.
What?
I, thought maybe you were gonna shrink yourself or make all the cans bigger or something.
Why would I do that?
I don't know. You shrank
The
the...
dark pantry, I need light.
Well, yeah, but... never mind.
Found it. Ah, crap.
Now what?
I can't open it when it's this small. Hang on a sec.
Ugh. How are we supposed to open it now? We can't even reach the lid.
This actually makes it easier.
Why do you have an axe in the streaming kitchen?
Stand back.
Ah! I'm sorry, but before we begin, I need to tell you that I've developed a very severe allergy to the mere sight of Gideon Gleeful. I just can't participate in this episode, so I just need you to look over this doctor's note, acknowledge it, and sign it, and then I'll be on my way, all right?
Okay, this kind of throws a wrench in our plans, though.
I'm sorry, but I mean, my head swells up. I mean, I grow a weird pompadour out my head.
Stop right there. I have a cure for the swelling. I will be right back.
I hope this works. It better not be gummy koalas!
Okay, I don't know what to do about your other symptoms, but if you'll just, look directly into the camera, I can deal with the swelling right now.
Okay, this is... Ah!
A few minutes later.
Ugh. God, it took me forever to climb up there. What did you do?
I made the swelling go down.
You made everything go down, Mary. Are you even gonna sign my doctor's note?
Oh, yeah, here.
Ugh, so much trouble. Okay. Eat a lemon, buzzard breath? How dare you?
I thought I wrote buzzard bitch.
Wow.
I'm getting distracted.
I need a minute.
Welcome to Into the Falls, a Gravity Falls podcast. I'm Mary, and I know lots of things.
I'm AJ, and I know nothing.
This is a podcast where I guide AJ through the wonderful weirdness of Gravity Falls, my favorite show that he has never seen.
If you're a new arrival like me, or looking to relive some crazy summer memories, come with us, and let's dive into the falls. No joke, I turned it on, and the minute I saw the back of his head, I'm like, fuck!
Phil Rinda gave Gideon that luscious head of hair he has.
And of course
So you
he would
have
be
him to
so
thank.
vain that he would need to get a little gummy koala. That's what they are. He would need to get that out. Of course he carries a can of hairspray with him at all times because, of course, you need to keep up your appearance anytime you need to give a short notice seminar.
Gideon is really vain. He's probably so vain that he thinks this podcast is about him.
Don't he?
Don't he?
Don't he? It's kind of funny how he's just so petty that this one rivalry with Stan has just gone and driven him completely insane. It's kind of sad, but in a lot of ways it's kind of funny.
Yeah, well, what's important is that it's funny to us on the outside.
Absolutely. I mean, it kind of felt like Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner cartoons at times.
We talked a little bit about how a lot of the characters are based on, he and his sister were the same height until that year when she grew, half an inch taller than him, and he was just this is the worst thing that could ever happen to anyone. Mabel grows 1 millimeter taller than Dipper, and he just has an existential crisis.
But I mean, he's right. She would only be taller than him in Canada, and, anywhere else that uses the metric system.
That's most places. Depending on like how much they travel, how far they can afford to travel, which they took a bus to Gravity Falls. So I don't know if they're leaving the country anytime soon. They could go to Canada, though. They're pretty close to Canada right now.
I love how exaggerated he gets over a millimeter, because if you know how big a millimeter is, it's like nothing. It's like three
it's
hairs.
Tiny.
Mabel's three hairs taller than Dipper. But you know what? He's 12.
They're also twins, so I think, like, having that small difference kind of makes a difference to them. Not that, like, I can't speak on this from experience. I'm not a twin. From what I hear, it's, like, a big deal. Like, oh, I'm 10 minutes older than you, so I'm the older sibling.
And count on my hands a bunch of jokes like that in DuckTales and the Sweet Life series.
We've watched enough media with twins and triplets, so I think we can speak with authority on the experience of twins.
Of course.
It's exactly what we say it is. In the last episode, someone put a bottle of glue up on a shelf and Stan couldn't reach it. And I'm like, why would you put it there? And then Dipper is trying to get the journal down and he can't reach it. I'm like, who put it there? You're the only one who ever uses it. Why would you put it somewhere you can't reach? Why does this family keep doing that?
Because you got to keep the journal safe. You can't have it falling into the wrong hands. So you got to put it up somewhere high. And then on the off chance you got to read it again, Dipper will just handle it when he gets there.
So you just gotta hope your adversary isn't taller than you, which in Gideon's case is true. But like, hey, what about everyone else? Most people are taller than Dipper. That's why he keeps the journal in his vest, though. He can protect it and he can just take it out whenever he needs it. And also because in that one scene in the pilot, they needed a place for him to hide the journal, so they just drew a vest on him. Thanks, Charlie.
Maybe it was a slow week that week, and he didn't really need it that much, so he's like, this thing's too heavy, I'll just put it up here.
I've written Little Man, and I don't remember what the context was. Did Stan call Gideon Little Man? Someone called him Little Man. Someone called someone Little Man. Oh, Suck a Lemon, Little Man.
Shaq is hereby signed over to Suck a Lemon, Little Man.
Duh. I forgot it again. We got some sneak peeks at Journal 2. It's apparently given him some information about the shack, and he wants that shack now. He wants that deed. In the commentary, they said he would have no way of knowing that they're not going to eat his house. He just, like, would sooner do that to spite Gideon than, like, try to stop it.
That is so in character. He has the will and is able to ignore the termites long enough for him to get out this long-winded speech about revenge and all that. But the minute they start eating his hair, it's like, oh no, I gotta get out of here.
I almost wrote that, like, their rivalry is like the pettiest we've seen it so far, but that's not true, because with Gideon like throwing tomatoes at him and Irrational Treasure, like that's the only interaction they've had since episode 4. Like he treats Gideon is so just not, like he hates him, but Gideon is not a threat to him.
Stan is just gonna have as much fun as he possibly can with it. Just to torment this little turd who absolutely deserves it.
His poor mother. I have a vague memory of watching this episode for the first time and just being, like, horrified by that. But that came from sort of a philosophy that Alex Hirsch has. If they're, like, an important character, and this is, like, the third or fourth time we're seeing them, we should learn something new about him. So we see more of his house. We see his beleaguered mother, who's just driven to the brink of insanity by her child being evil.
Just keep vacuuming.
Just keep vacuuming.
Precious memories.
Just keep vacuuming. Just keep vacuuming.
And not to mention, like, her husband is in love with this Carla chick. And, like, he's just saying that on TV, on local TV. He's just telling everybody that he's in love with another woman. I mean, maybe her name is Carla. But then, like, you've been married for years now, so what do you mean you've never had the guts to say it?
I always thought that was just some random announcer guy, and the actor just happened to be double dipping in 2 roles. I don't know.
I really think it's supposed to be Bud, because it would make sense for Bud to be making this commercial for his son.
If that's true, what a conspiracy.
It's not a conspiracy, it's just sad. This poor woman, her family life is falling apart, and she can do nothing but vacuum.
The audacity to sneak in an adultery reference into a Disney show.
I don't think it was intentional, but I think that added some subtext.
But nobody said no to it.
True.
Nobody caught it.
I love that Stan and Mabel bond over Dipper being insecure about his height. First of all, Stan is the owner of this establishment, and he woke up last. Seuss was already up and working. Dipper and Mabel were already in the gift shop. I don't know if they were working, but they were there. and Stan comes in last. He's not even dressed. He just woke up because they were making fun of Dipper.
It transcends his dreams. His desire to make fun of people is so powerful that as soon as he hears other people doing it, it's like a moth drawn to the light.
I was awoken by the sound of mockery. Where is it? Show me the object of ridicule.
And it's bringing him closer to his family. Maybe not
Yeah.
Dipper, but Mabel's his family.
It's partially wholesome.
He's just so funny in this. It's just like we talked about in a few episodes how they always need to get him out of the way. He's barely even out of the way in this one. He's just at the shack and just doesn't see it because it's all just really tiny.
Plus, he's old. He's got bad eyesight.
He's so focused on just destroying this child.
Oh, yeah. Have we ever seen his hair before? I
not
think this is the
sure.
first time I can remember that we've seen his hair.
He lifted up his fez in Dipper versus Manliness when Susan came by. He was like, ma'am. So we saw it then, I think.
Oh, yeah. And I guess the time traveler's pig when they go back accidentally to the cabin and then Stan is just there like, who's there?
Yeah, if you notice, that was not a mystery shack. It was just a house. So when did it
It
become
was
the
just a
mystery
shack.
shack? It was just a shack. When did the mystery come in?
Also, we
It
get to
was
learn his full name.
Stanford
Stanford.
Pines. We learned that earlier. Gideon says it in Hand That Rocks, and Mabel comes home. He's like, Stanford Pines, I rebuke thee. I think I'm doing an okay Gideon impression. I know I make a running joke out of how I can't do impressions. I think I do at least a recognizable Gideon impression, an okay Seuss impression, and a pretty good Pacifica impression.
How's your Mabel?
I'm not even going to attempt it. Well, I said I am Mabel. I didn't say I sound like Mabel, because no one sounds like Kristen Shaw except for Kristen Shaw. Maybe
All
Jenny
right.
Slate a little bit. Mabel's sweater has a pocket this episode. Good for her. She can store things finally.
You can store all those, all the knights.
That's what
And,
that piece is called? That's what the
yeah.
horses are? Oh, I guess because knights would be riding horses, yeah.
So let's see if I can name all the chess pieces just off the top of my head.
I won't know if you can't.
The viewers will know, though.
What viewers?
Let's see.
It's a podcast.
Pawn, the king, the queen, the bishop, the knight, and the rook. I think that's all of them.
I'm not aware of any other ones. When Dipper sees the mountain lion, he shrinks it, and he's like, it still hurts, but less.
He was so cute. That tiny little meow, and then the...
I say that would still hurt pretty bad. Not nearly as bad as if you were, like, attacked by a full-grown mountain lion. I had a friend who used to live down the street from me, and her cat had, like, 3 litters of kittens, so I'd always go over to see them and just, like, play with them. And they didn't have as much fluff between their claws, between their toes. So when they, like, kind of dug their claws into you, if you pick them up, like, with needles, it hurt like hell. It was tiny, but it hurt.
Yeah, I can imagine it. That mountain lion biting Dipper, that would probably hurt like a pushpin inside your thumb.
Yeah, like, it's preferable to being mauled by a wild animal, but, like, I don't think Dipper would be smiling. When Mabel, first of all, it's so funny when she just insists on there being an invisible wizard, even after she sees the thing that's doing it. She just, like, turns back to the closet. She's like, I'll be back for you later. Like, she's convinced that the invisible wizard is still there. He's just unrelated to this
boots are
situation.
still there.
Well, that's somebody had boots. I don't know. We do
Boots
see
are still there. I believe in the invisible wizard. Hello, astute viewers. It's time for an Into the Falls candy break, sponsored today by all new gummy marsupials. So grab your favorite candy and join us.
Gummy marsupials have all your favorite pouch-carrying mammals inside for your chewing pleasure. Wait, there's no flavors here.
What do you mean?
The box doesn't say which marsupial is which flavor.
Guess we'll have to taste test them all. I'm gonna grab a kangaroo. I'm sure our audience knows that marsupial the best. Strawberry.
What about the jelly?
What? Oh, wow. There's a kangaroo inside one of the kangaroos. That's cool. Oh, good God, that is rancid.
That was in the ad copy. All the females have baby pouches inside the actual gummy.
How do we know which ones are female?
Who are you, Matt Walsh? Let me try a wombat. Oh, black licorice!
Unlucky. I thought the Tasmanian devil would be licorice, honestly. Ooh, I love cinnamon candy flavor. Especially when it's extra spicy.
Good thing the gummy possum is milk flavored. Oh, and so are its 6 gummy babies. Oh God, Did they use actual possum milk for this?
Gummy marsupials! More than the pouch!
Buy gummy marsupials wherever you buy cheap cigarettes and 72-ounce sodas, and remember, we're not responsible for you falling for this dumb parody ad.
Whew. Now back to the show.
I'm just gonna be lactose intolerant from now on.
Watching the episode immediately followed by the episode with the commentary, I noticed like a lot more details visually. It never really registered with me that the wallpaper in the shack is peeling. If you look in the background, it's all peeling from the corners, and then we see more kind of background props that are in the attic, like there's a Zoltar machine, there's some kind of arcade machine.
Apparently there's a couple's brain in a jar.
Yeah, oh, I wrote
Couple's
that.
brains in a jar.
I wrote that down too. I've never noticed that before, I don't think. There's one with a hat and one with a big like 60s wig.
I didn't notice that. I was just, my first thought was like, oh, is the ladies one the smaller brain?
You would think that, wouldn't you, AJ?
I didn't mean anything by it, I promise.
You son of a bitch.
I'm sure because Mabel is 1 millimeter taller than Dipper, I'm sure that means her brain is also 1
Don't
millimeter bigger in her
overcompensate.
diameter than...
I just love the gag that she knows it's something paranormal as soon as she realizes, like, oh, you got bigger again. She's not, like, shocked. But she's completely wrong about what it actually is. It's not shocking anymore. It's
Nah.
just like, oh, a new thing. Okay. I would realize it if I were in their situation pretty quickly, too, because Dipper has not just grown taller. He's, like, completely scaled up, and it looks super weird next to Mabel.
It's like you're in Photoshop and then you press Control and then you drag the box bigger.
Poor Seuss in this episode. He tries to stick up for Dipper and they think he's insulting him too, and then Stan's taking
Yeah.
credit for his ideas and he gets shrunk and they break the crystal before they regrow him.
Zeus has kind of had a rough time this episode.
But he takes it all in stride.
Alex's voice performance as Zeus is really much more dynamic than he's been in the past, but then he's not really had much need for this kind of voice performance for Zeus in the past, so it was really nice to hear. It was kind of refreshing.
Yeah, we're getting like a little more shading with him. He has bigger plans as an employee in the shack. Like he wants to take over someday. It was always really satisfying to me how when he puts the fez on, it just fits perfectly because he has this weird shaped head and it's just so snug.
Yeah, it fits him so perfectly. If the fates have foretold it, he's bound to take over the Mystery Shack one day. Mark my words.
Okay, I'm marking them. He's gonna call it the Seustery Shack.
You know what? I would totally visit it if it was called the Seustery Shack.
He's Mr. Seustery. And then, like, he realizes when he slips and tells Gideon where Stan is, he realizes he's done it and he feels bad. He's kind of down on himself. He's not like a complete idiot. Like, he knows that he does those things.
You
And
know
it
what's
just-
fully wholesome? Dipper
What?
and Mabel bringing him back up.
Yeah, I always like that they immediately were like, it's not your fault. It's we were being idiots.
Oh yeah, and I love how much of a dork he is still. Tell my story!
Tell my story! Hey, there you are. Thought you could get away from me, eh, Corn Chip?
I might have seen this before and I just forgot, but there's like a sign outside the shack that says sale ?
I did not notice that.
Well, that's there. In the scene where Mabel like grows his head really big and he falls backwards and he like smashes part of the porch, that sign is there. He like falls into it. There's also a flyer with a cute little bear face drawn on it, so I don't know what that's for. Someone lost their pet bear. I also noticed some stuff in Gideon's room. First of all, he has a TV in his room in 2012. I'm jealous. If you look in that scene when you see his bedside table, there's a book that says Art of War.
Wow, this is one disturbed kid.
He has a hamster. We got some new lore, but no dog. Even though they have a doggy door, I think he killed it.
You know, I wouldn't put it past him.
When they're in Gideon's pocket in the jar, there are some $20 bills behind them, and I wrote down like they should steal those.
That's a good way to exact petty revenge.
Stan would be proud.
Gideon's methods, not effective.
I'm so confused that Gideon says after all these years. Because as far as we know, he's only lived in Gravity Falls for like a couple of months.
Because kids don't understand time, and it feels like years to him when it's been like
maybe,
probably
but
a
he's-
week.
But he's like 9. He should understand that it hasn't been literal years. And if it had, Stan would have been fighting with a toddler, which I wouldn't put past him. It's just that Gideon wouldn't be so business savvy back then.
He's a villain. Hyperbole is kind of the villain's MO. But nobody can take him seriously because he just sucks.
He does, and he says, like, after every humiliation, like, you haven't been that humiliated by them. It was really just the one time at this point. And now a couple of times. When he's on the phone, he's like, you don't believe me? I will text you a photo.
Text me a photo? Now you're not even speaking English.
I love the implication that he has Stan's contact information saved in his phone in case he ever needs to text him, even though Stan definitely doesn't have a cell phone because he's using a rotary phone and he doesn't know what texting is. Stan is so funny in this episode. He's funny in every episode, but Jesus Christ, he and Gideon are just like, it's so funny to watch this like grizzled old man face off against this insufferable child and just love every minute of it.
Stan's just having the time of his life.
Yeah.
Come and get me, you twerp!
And then Stan is just like so nonplussed by Gideon like having this meltdown in front of him till it just gets uncomfortable and he has to kick him out, literally just roll him out on the front porch.
There comes a point when it's not cute anymore and he's just like, okay, kid, where are your parents?
You're the light of my life too, pal.
My light! You're the light of my life too, pal.
I have to pee again. I'll be back.
All right. I feel like this is a good time to discuss Gideon's dad. What was his name again? Whatever. Can y'all believe how much of an enabler he is? Sure, he's got his business of selling really crappy cars to worry about, but dude, your kid is literally flipping over chairs, flipping over tables, screaming at the top of his lungs about exacting revenge, and you're enabling him with this? Dude, like spank him, put him in timeout or something. Don't feed him ice cream and pick out all the nuts.
You're a car salesman. You should know how to manipulate him into straightening him out. You should know how to get him on the straight and narrow.
He preaches about the straight and narrow, for goodness sakes. I'm sure he does when he's not reading people's minds and their futures and his fortune-telling, whatever. But come on, man. You gotta be a dad, because clearly your wife is not. She's got way too much on her plate to be worrying about that from the looks of it. You know, I think this whole thing can be solved if you just dump Carla. You gotta just march up there and tell her, look, I'm married. I've got a demon spawn of a child that I've got to get under control. This just isn't going to work out. This is wrong. This is outside of the boundaries and morals that I believe in. This just has to stop.
Many unbearable hours later.
AJ, are you taking over my role of vamping while the other person is off doing something?
Yeah, instead of singing little ditties into my microphone, I'm ranting about Gideon's dad.
I forgot about the joke where Stan like puts out his hand for a high five and Mabel just hits it so hard that it physically hurts him. She's like, I high five hard. Like she's also aware. But that gets kind of sad in like the third act because we realize Dipper beats her at everything and she gets down on herself about it. She like feels inferior to him.
You're better at me at like everything.
That's sad to watch.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a goof in that reveal because she says, you're better at me at, like, everything. She doesn't say better than, she says better at, and that's always bugged me. It shouldn't, but it does.
I gotta rewatch it and look at that. When Mabel first encounters the invisible wizard, air quotes, and she's like, Expecto Wizardo! My first thought was like, that's halfway to a call from Warner Brothers. But then the Harry Potter film series was done by this point, right?
It would have just been finishing up when they were writing these episodes, but it's still very, very steeped in the cultural memory. Like, just last year, there was an Owl House episode that was, like, the whole thing was just about Quidditch. They changed it just enough to not get sued by Warner Brothers, by Yakko and Wacko themselves.
I feel like they would be very compelling lawyers if they don't just make a kangaroo court of the whole thing.
Oh, they absolutely do. Something that I just noticed about this episode, I think this is the first one that doesn't have Wendy in it. She wasn't in Gobblewonker. It's the first one in a while that didn't have her in it, though.
Yeah. It's kind of refreshing to kind of veer away from the whole Dipper loves Wendy subplot.
Yeah. Like, I like her being there when she just gets to do her thing, and it's not all about Dipper having feelings for her, like being in middle school love with her.
I feel like that's been in, like, the past 4 or 5 episodes in a row, that's been a major plot point, and it's nice to move on to something else, even if it has to be Gideon.
We've talked a lot about, like, little gags, but something I think we're forgetting is that Gideon has a journal. And with journals come mysteries. I'm going to send you some screenshots of what we see of Journal 3 this episode, and I want us to just dissect them. And I think this will be a nice thing going forward to kind of make predictions out of. So first, the one we see the most of is obviously the one with the height-altering crystals. None of this is legible, except for figure 1. There's a drawing of some kind of animal skull with sharp teeth that says found near the crystals. Figure 2 is just more drawings of the crystals, something labeled A, B, and C. I'm making out the word longer. Different colors perform different functions.
I would predict that A is just a shrinking crystal, B is just an enlarging crystal,
C is an ordinary crystal.
C is an ordinary crystal. Okay, so I was wrong there. I thought C was like, it does both.
I thought this was just scribbles. No, there's actual writing here. You can't read all of it very well. It looks like non-shiny crystal. Okay, I can't read the rest of this.
I can't read it either. Cursive doesn't exist.
I don't know, but there's another page. There's something in binary down there, so let's see if that means anything.
Probably translates to, ha, you're a dork, or something.
It translates to the letter J. I think they just wrote a bunch of numbers. Seeing 3759, I think?
Clearly there's a maze on the right page with like maybe a treasure to be found?
This is just the back of a cereal box that was like pasted into the journal.
This is the last hurrah this episode. Mary finally cracks the code.
It's only showing me the credit code, which is the invisible wizard is watching, so you were right about that.
The question is now, how did he get in to the... Well, I'm sure he probably could have walked in when somebody left the door open.
Yeah, no one's gonna see him.
He's got the perfect alibi. I forget, does Dipper know that Gideon has a journal?
No.
Oh boy, oh boy.
We get a hint that maybe Gideon knows that Dipper has a journal, but Dipper would have no reason to think that Gideon has one.
Gideon's gonna bring hell's and heaven's vengeance upon the Pines family if he ever finds out that Dipper has a journal. Sometimes you come so far in your ambitions and you think you're so close to accomplishing what you want, and then 2 little kids tickle your armpits and you're forced out the door.
Uncle Stan is doomed!
Not completely doomed. To his armpit!
That's just how life is sometimes.
Dipper looked really enthusiastic about that armpit plan.
Forcing Mabel into it, like, no, come on! We're gonna tickle his armpit and you're gonna like it!
They don't have a choice. I think all that's left is for me to tell you the title of the next episode, which is Summerween.
Very appropriate because I'm seeing a whole bunch of Halloween stuff on Twitter and on Tumblr. People are deciding that it's a certain holiday whenever they want it to be, and I'm just like, guys, hold your horses.
Dude, I had my Halloween decorations up on September 12th last year. It'll probably be the same this year.
Maybe I'm just a stan as far as fall and winter holidays go.
We're gonna have ourselves a little Summerween spooktacular. And we can't have that without guests, so we're gonna have our special guest, friend of the show, co-host of Mystery Shack Look Back, Ella Cesare. Woo! And she is gonna help us ring in the Summerween season next time on Into the Falls.
Bye-bye.
Just knowing. This has been Into the Falls. You can find me at Mabel Page Pines on Twitter and Instagram. That's Mabel, P-A-G-E Pines. I'm also May Page on YouTube and Film Knife on Medium and WordPress. That's where I post my film reviews and essays, editorials, etc. You can follow the show on Twitter at The Falls Cast, all one word, and Into the Falls Podcast on YouTube. And I will hand it off to AJ.
This podcast is hosted and produced by Mary McKeon and AJ Sanchez, and our theme song and some of the music is by Kevin MacLeod. Oh, and follow me on Instagram. And I make YouTube videos sometimes. Unca AJ. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, trust no one! If I were Gideon, I would sort of grab a sneak peek like, hey, what are you hiding, man?
Sorry, can
What
you
are
repeat?
you hiding, little man?
Can you repeat that because I was not listening? I was deep in the wiki.